This man can freely control people's thoughts and actions.
Stop killing each other! Now!
If he tells you to jump off a building, you have to jump immediately. If he tells you to shoot yourself in the head, even if the gun is empty, the person being controlled will find a way to get the bullet in their head.
It has to be in my head!
Open your mouth. There's a bullet in your head, okay?
Only by completing the task can they break free from his control. However, there is a woman named Jessica who suddenly develops immunity. Jessica is a superhero in Marvel Comics, on the way to a trip to Disney, because she was arguing with her younger brother in the back seat, so her father who was driving was distracted, and crashed into a military vehicle loaded with radioactive chemical agents. As a result, the whole family was exposed to radiation and died. Only Jessica survived and fell into a coma for several months. After waking up, she found she had acquired abilities far beyond those of ordinary people. After Jessica became an adult, she established a pseudonym detective agency. It specializes in taking on jobs to investigate whether wives or husbands are having an affair. On this day, she finally received a different case. The female lawyer Hogarth asked Jessica to deliver a subpoena. A certain pole dancer was thrown off the stage due to the loosening of the pole, resulting in permanent brain damage. The female lawyer was responsible for helping this pole dancer sue the club owner. Logically speaking, the female lawyer never takes on cases for the disadvantaged, because the cost of hiring her is simply unaffordable for ordinary people. But there is a mysterious third party interested in the club owner's assets, so Hogarth decided to help the pole dancer. The problem is that the club owner has too many bodyguards around him. It's very difficult to serve the subpoena. That's why she wanted to ask Jessica for help. Of course, this kind of thing can't stump our female protagonist. She casually browsed the social media platform of the club owner's secretary and disguised herself as the secretary of a certain CEO, then easily found out the whereabouts of the club owner. After Jessica hung up the phone, she focused on using the toilet. When she turned around, she found that there was no toilet paper left. It seems that even with superpowers, one can't avoid such an embarrassing situation. Jessica tossed and turned in bed and couldn't fall asleep, so she put on her equipment and went out. She easily jumped and climbed onto the fire escape of the high-rise building, then took a pair of binoculars and observed the lives of others. Among them were gluttons and people with a foot fetish. In addition, Jessica saw her future husband, the superhero Luke Cage, for the first time. At this time, she didn't notice anything special about this person. The next morning, Jessica was woken up by the noise upstairs. She picked up the boots on the ground and smashed a big hole in the ceiling. Jessica got up wearily and vigilantly noticed that the door was open. She walked out carefully to check. It turned out that the neighbor Zach, being confused, had entered the wrong door. Jessica pulled Zach up and was ready to throw him out. At this time, an old couple was standing at the door. The two of them were from Omaha and wanted to ask Jessica to find their missing daughter, Hope, to be precise. It couldn't really be considered a disappearance, because Hope called the couple every week, but she just wouldn't reveal her location. According to the old couple, Hope had applied for an athlete scholarship. She was studying at New York University. A month ago, she called and said she was going to take a break for a while, then moved out of the apartment where she had lived before. She didn't reveal the new address at all, and also quit the school's track and field team. The couple thought that something was wrong, so they reported it to the police, but Hope didn't meet the requirements for a missing person case. The police recommended that the couple come to Jessica. During their conversation, the old man kept trying to repair the door. He thought it was too dangerous for a girl to live in an apartment without a door lock. From this, it can be seen that the old couple is quite kind. Jessica signed the contract and immediately started the investigation. There was nothing wrong with Hope's family background. Her father, Bob, was a contractor, and her mother, Barbara, was an accountant. They weren't very wealthy, but their income was legal. In addition to Hope, there was also a young son in the family. It didn't seem to be a dispute caused by money. Hope's social media was all about track and field, nothing else. Among them was a group photo with a friend. Jessica immediately went to visit this friend. This person was both a friend and a roommate of Hope's. According to her, Hope had met a man before, then she moved out of this apartment. She also asked her roommate to sell her things to pay the rent. The valuable things had already been sold out, and only a box of miscellaneous items was left. Jessica took out an envelope from it and left. Then she went to solve the female lawyer's case first. She followed the clues she had found when using the toilet before. She staked out the nightclub owner at the location the secretary had mentioned. She originally wanted to serve the subpoena politely, but the nightclub owner didn't show any respect, so Jessica had to grab his sports car with one hand.
You know, you'll spend less settling this lawsuit than you did on those hair plugs.
Stuffed the subpoena into the nightclub owner's hand, and then left. She didn't care at all about revealing her superpowers in front of ordinary people. The female lawyer soon called and said, "I will transfer the payment to you," but the lawyer of the nightclub owner called and said, that he was going to sue you for threatening him with laser eyes. Jessica didn't take it seriously. In the evening, she couldn't fall asleep, so she went out. She was soon attracted by a lively bar on the street. When she was hesitating whether to go in or not, she met Luke. It turned out that he worked in this bar. The two of them had a pleasant conversation, and soon had a sexual relationship. When Jessica went to the bathroom to wash up, she saw a photo in the cabinet. She didn't know what she thought of, and her mood was very low. Then she immediately went out, put on her clothes and left. However, Luke didn't try to keep her. After that, Jessica devoted herself to the investigation of the missing person case. She checked Hope's credit card bill, and found the other party had bought a lot of branded underwear. It was obvious that it was to please her boyfriend, and her mother had said that Hope was thrifty. She basically didn't use that emergency credit card. She followed Hope's consumption records, and came to a restaurant that looked very familiar. Jessica showed Hope's photo and asked the waiter, because Hope's male companion was very special. The waiter remembered it very clearly. Every time he came, he only sat in the designated position. Even if that place was occupied by someone else, the manager would find a way to move the original guest away, and the sommelier gave him a bottle of high-priced red wine. Jessica listened to the waiter's gossip. She immediately remembered some terrible memories. A few years ago, she was also that man's girlfriend, and also sat in the same restaurant in the same position. Even the dishes were exactly the same. Jessica immediately fell into a certain state of panic. She ran to Hope's parents and asked, "Which policeman exactly recommended that you come to me?" Bob said it was just a complainant in the police station. After hearing their report, he recommended Jessica to the old couple. Strictly speaking, he wasn't a policeman. Jessica reminded them to go home quickly, and not to pursue this matter any further. Obviously, the person who deceived Hope was very dangerous. After Jessica went home, she immediately bought a plane ticket and prepared to flee here overnight. But when she was making the payment, she found that her card had been suspended. She could only go to Trish to borrow money. Trish was the biological daughter of the family that adopted her. She was a very famous talk show actress, but they hadn't spoken to each other for 6 months. Trish definitely wouldn't lend her money easily. Jessica could only confess, "He's back," and tell the story of Hope's disappearance. It seemed that Trish also knew the existence of that mysterious man, and she knew very well that Jessica wasn't an ordinary person. Trish thought that Jessica should rescue that innocent girl Hope, rather than run away. However, she still gave Jessica a sum of money. The latter was torn after getting the money, and finally gave up going to the airport. Instead, she came to the hotel where that man often stayed. Jessica set off the fire alarm. All the residents of the building ran out. Only the room that Jessica was going to had no response. She summoned up her courage and pushed the door open. Hope was lying on the big bed in the bedroom.
Is he here? Is Kilgrave here?
No.
Kilgrave is the biggest villain in this film, codenamed the Purple Man. He can control others through his words. The Purple Man gave Hope the order not to leave. She had been lying here for 5 hours, and even urinated on the bed. Jessica immediately picked her up and carried her away. The control of the Purple Man will gradually disappear, with time and distance, so Hope must leave here with her parents immediately. The Bob family thanked her repeatedly, and took their daughter home. But just at the moment when the elevator door closed, Hope actually took out a pistol. When Jessica ran downstairs and stopped the elevator, Mr. and Mrs. Bob were already dead. Hope then came to her senses and burst into tears. She had been controlled to kill her parents just now. Jessica's first reaction was to rush to the airport and escape, but at the last moment, she still returned to the building. Because Jessica was a witness at the crime scene, she was taken back to the police station by the police for questioning. The police thought that how could a female college student shoot at her parents for no apparent reason, so they suspected that Jessica was the instigator. After all, she had been closely related to this family recently. The police also broke into Jessica's house without permission, and searched it. They found a lot of candid photos of Luke, and suspected that this person was related to the case. Jessica explained helplessly, "I'm a private detective and I also have a legitimate business license. You broke into my house without authorization to search for things, and also looked at my clients' photos without permission. If you can't produce evidence, you have no right to detain me." After saying this, Jessica went to the bar to find Luke. Unfortunately, she was a step too late. 2 policemen were questioning him inside. The other party already knew about the candid photography. Jessica had to go in and explain, "I took candid photos of you because of my professional needs. Your lover, Gina, is a married woman. Her husband sent me to investigate the person she was having an affair with. But Luke said, it's impossible. I never mess around with married people." Jessica said, "If you don't believe me, check Gina's marriage certificate." Jessica's words were half true and half false. Gina was indeed a married woman, but her husband didn't entrust a private detective to investigate. Jessica took candid photos of Luke out of interest. All in all, this matter made them very unhappy. The next day, Jessica went to visit Hope. Through the conversation between them, it can be known that the Purple Man completely regarded Hope as a substitute for Jessica. because Hope was an athlete on the track and field team. Although she couldn't compare with Jessica, her physical fitness was far better than that of ordinary people. She was too devastated by what happened to her parents. No matter what Jessica asked, she refused to answer properly. They could only interrupt this conversation. Jessica made up her mind to get Hope out of prison. So she begged the female lawyer to represent this case. She would find a way to find the evidence that Hope had been controlled. After it was done, consider that Jessica owed the female lawyer a favor as a result. This condition was very tempting. The female lawyer said, "As long as you get the evidence, I will defend Hope." During this period, Trish came to find Jessica. She hoped that Jessica would move to her apartment. The security there was relatively complete. Jessica didn't want to involve Trish, so she refused her kindness. In the evening, when Jessica was tidying up the materials in the office, she accidentally saw a newspaper clipping. It recorded a certain major bus accident. A person named Reva died on the spot. Reva's photo was also published on it. It was the same person as the photo placed in Luke's house. It seemed that this Reva was Luke's wife. Jessica was actually a witness of that accident. She was just about to get rid of the control of the purple man at that time, so she left ignoring his call. The purple man was about to catch up, but a bus suddenly overturned and knocked the purple man flying. Jessica thought he was dead at that time. At this moment, she looked at the materials and sorted out her thoughts, but the sound of a couple arguing came from above her head. She went up unceremoniously and warned the other party, but that woman still retorted defiantly. Jessica grabbed her and pressed her against the wall. The neighbor woman was so scared that her legs went weak, and she could only shut up. The next day, Jessica came to the scene of the car accident and inquired about the location of the nearby hospital. Although the purple man wasn't killed at that time, he must have gone to the hospital for treatment. Jessica came to the nearest general hospital, stole a nurse's uniform, and put it on. Then she searched for the purple man's information through the records at the front desk, but there were only the records of Luke's wife in it. It also showed that she was already dead when she was sent here. Jessica could only print out all the records of the day of the car accident and take them back for study. When she arrived at the apartment, she found that the door was open. Jessica immediately knocked down the person inside. Unexpectedly, this was the repairman sent by Trish to repair the door. Jessica could only call an ambulance for the person and then call Trish. She warned her not to contact herself again. The two of them started arguing. After just a few words, Jessica hung up the phone. Irritably, the neighbor upstairs came to say hello and wanted to apologize for the noise yesterday. It can be known from the conversation between them. The man and the woman upstairs weren't a couple, but fraternal twins. Jessica was too lazy to pay attention to this man. She noticed that all the ambulances had numbers, and quickly opened the materials printed during the day, then noted down the number of the ambulance. On the day of the car accident, Jessica pretended to be an administrator of the city traffic bureau, and went to find the ambulance driver. On the day the purple man was hit, at that time, the hospital dispatched 2 ambulances, one of the drivers named Jack. As soon as he arrived at the scene of the accident, he drove away in an empty ambulance. He not only left his post without permission but also resigned soon. When Jessica found Jack, she found that he had a stroke despite being young. Jack's mother explained, after that incident of stealing the ambulance, Jack disappeared for 3 weeks. Finally, someone found him in an alley and kindly sent him to the hospital, but it was found that both of his kidneys were gone. That's why he became like this now. Fortunately, a kind-hearted person donated a dialysis machine, which reduced the burden on this family. It was obvious that after the purple man was hit and disabled, he dug out Jack's kidneys and transplanted them into himself. Jessica sent Jack's mother away, and took a photo of the product number of that dialysis machine. She told Jack, "I will avenge you." The latter was very excited when he heard this, and picked up a pen and wanted to write something. Jessica originally thought that he had important clues, but what Jack wrote was "kill me." Of course, Jessica couldn't do it and quickly found an excuse to leave. She looked at this poor mother and son, and her mood became heavier and heavier. Just as Jessica returned to the apartment, she met the twins upstairs.
Hands off my brother, cougar.
Jessica returned to the room speechlessly. Unexpectedly, Gina came over, who was Luke's married lover. She learned from Luke that her husband had sent a private detective to follow her, so she ran home to argue with her husband, and thus revealed her affair. Gina was very angry, so she came to argue with Jessica. She also said, "Are you satisfied now? My husband has found a group of brothers from the rugby league, and they are going to the bar to teach Luke a lesson now. It's all your fault that things have become like this." When Jessica arrived at the bar, the people inside were already fighting. She didn't have time to think and rushed in to help. the two of them beat up this group of athletes. Jessica found that Luke was actually invulnerable. These people stabbed him with wine bottles, but they couldn't even break his skin. Similarly, Luke also realized that Jessica wasn't an ordinary person. He drove the other people away. Then Jessica focused on the investigation, and she found out, according to the serial number of the dialysis machine, that it belonged to a doctor named George. Jessica immediately went to the university where the doctor worked. As soon as George saw her, he immediately ran away. Unexpectedly, this old uncle had really good physical strength. Jessica chased him all the way to the underground parking lot before catching George. He was the doctor who helped the Purple Man transplant organs. George had seen Jessica's photo and thought that they were in the same group. That's why he ran away desperately. Jessica distanced herself from the Purple Man and asked what exactly had happened back then. Through George's account, the car accident damaged one of the Purple Man's kidneys. The other one also failed due to crush injury syndrome. He didn't want to dig out both of Jack's kidneys, so he advised the Purple Man that he could still live by transplanting one kidney. But the other party insisted on replacing both kidneys. For a full 10 hours, the Purple Man only received epidural anesthesia and refused to accept general anesthesia. Jessica realized that the Purple Man didn't want to lose consciousness. But don't people also lose consciousness when they sleep? Why didn't he want to accept general anesthesia? George explained that surgical anesthetics would make different functions stop operating. Jessica finally grasped the Purple Man's weakness. As long as surgical anesthetics were used, he could be temporarily deprived of his control ability. Jessica first called the female lawyer and asked George to tell the other party the whole story to prove the Purple Man's special ability. After hearing this, the female lawyer finally agreed to defend Hope. Jessica let out a sigh of relief after returning home. She saw a package placed in the living room. After opening it, she found that it was a signboard of the pseudonym detective agency. It could just replace the torn cardboard on the door. She knew that it was sent by Trish, so she still called to thank the other party and invited her out for a drink. Trish was about to agree but suddenly had a nosebleed. She could only postpone having a meal with Jessica until next week. Then she went to her personal trainer and continued to practice self-defense techniques. Now that the Purple Man had reappeared, she must have the ability to protect herself. Jessica was just about to wash up and go to bed. Unexpectedly, Luke suddenly came to her door. He also performed the unique skill of sawing his belly with a chainsaw. The two confessed their respective identities as people with superpowers, being of the same kind, made them feel a mutual understanding and appreciation. While they were having an intimate conversation, they were just seen by the male neighbor upstairs. This pair of twins is really strange. Both Jessica and Luke were curious about each other, so they took the opportunity to get to know each other. While having dinner together, Luke acquired his superpowers because he was once used as an experimental subject. He's a Loki person and has never thought of becoming a superhero. Jessica did try it once, but the appearance of the Purple Man disrupted her plan. As the relationship between them continued to heat up, Luke also told the story of the accident that his wife had encountered. Jessica really wanted to say something, but in the end, she chose to hide it. She left Luke's house with a heavy heart and went to a nearby convenience store to buy some wine and drink. The TV station was broadcasting Hope's case. Everyone was condemning her for killing her parents. Jessica couldn't bear it and wanted to ask the female lawyer for help, and the other party bluntly said, "I won't stand in front of the public to vindicate her until you find conclusive evidence." So Jessica could only ask Trish for help, hoping that Trish would help Hope on her show. Trish promised to consider it and then invited Jessica to come in and talk. She casually took off her coat. Only then did Jessica find that Trish was covered in injuries, and there were surveillance cameras everywhere in the room, as well as bulletproof glass and a steel door. Trish told Jessica not to be nervous. She was just learning martial arts. Then she showed off her skills to Jessica. In fact, Trish did all these things because she didn't want Jessica to worry about her. Early the next morning, Jessica went to find the female lawyer's wife. She heard that the two were in the middle of a divorce, so she wanted the other party to help get some surgical anesthetics.
Do I look like the kind of doctor who would feed an addict's drug habit?
One of New York's sharkiest lawyers is divorcing you. Do you think you're gonna get a penny out of Hogarth?
Jessica tried both intimidation and inducement, but failed to make her give in. Trish promised to help Hope through the show, but she wanted to follow the female lawyer's suggestion, conduct a telephone interview with Hope, and broadcast it live throughout the process. Although this method was very cruel to Hope, if you want everyone to believe in mental control, you have to show some sincerity. Soon, the day of the TV interview arrived. Hope told the process of being controlled by the Purple Man. Everything was going very smoothly at first, but the female lawyer suddenly interrupted and said, "As you all have heard, my client is very likely to be suffering from schizophrenia. These so-called mental controls are just hallucinations." Trish refuted the female lawyer, saying that Hope had no history of mental illness, and mental control doesn't seem to be an impossible thing nowadays. After all, aliens have attacked our city. There are also superheroes in the world.
Trish, sounds like you believe this Kilgrave is real.
I believe it's naive to assume he isn't. So yes, I think he's out there.
Jessica saw that Trish was saying more and more excessive things, and quickly rushed in and tore off the microphone. She was worried that the Purple Man would hear Trish's words. Unfortunately, it was all too late. Soon, a call from a viewer came in. Jessica immediately recognized that it was the Purple Man's voice. He had already set his sights on Trish, who had spoken recklessly. The female lawyer's move was very clever. She deliberately provoked Trish and used her to support the claim of mental control. In this way, the female lawyer didn't have to come forward herself. Jessica immediately escorted Trish home. Unexpectedly, a man suddenly approached. The nervous Trish immediately knocked him down, but she found that he was actually her fan. She left the company without having time to apologize. Jessica told Trish to stay at home during this period and install the positioning system on her phone, then called George. But she found that this guy had already run away. Just then, the drug addict Zach went into the wrong room again. The twin brother helped him downstairs. Jessica stepped forward to help. The twin brother explained awkwardly, "My sister is a bit racist." When she saw Zach coming in, she insisted that he was a rapist. People nowadays always make judgments casually based on skin color. Hearing this, Jessica thought of an idea. She helped him to the general hospital and deliberately pushed Zach onto a passerby. As soon as everyone saw that a black person had deliberately bumped into someone, they immediately surrounded them to check the situation. Jessica took the opportunity to sneak into the pharmacy and found the anesthetic she wanted. On the other side, a policeman found Trish and claimed that he was here for the malicious attack at the company's entrance. Trish was worried that the policeman was controlled by the Purple Man, so she didn't open the door. Instead, she wanted to leave this matter to the lawyer, but the policeman said, "If you don't cooperate with the investigation, I have to apply for an arrest warrant. It will definitely be on the news then." Trish is a public figure, and her image is very important. While she was hesitating, the policeman pretended to leave. Sure enough, Trish called the policeman back.
I'm sorry,
Fortunately, Trish hasn't slacked off in her practice recently. She burst out with great strength and fought with the other party. They fought all the way from the porch to the living room. Although Trish was skillful and firmly locked the enemy's neck, she was facing an adult male policeman. It seemed that Trish was about to lose the strength to struggle. Jessica finally arrived at the scene and knocked the male policeman flying. But the other party's consciousness was completely controlled. There was only one instruction in his mind, which was to kill Trish. As long as he didn't stop breathing, the policeman wouldn't stop. So Jessica deliberately pressed the unconscious Trish and shouted at the policeman, "You killed her." Seeing that the task was completed, the policeman left immediately, and Jessica took out Trish's phone, chased after him, and stuffed it on the policeman. Jessica tracked his movements through the positioning program. Sure enough, she found the hiding place of the Purple Man. She glanced at the anesthetic syringe in her hand. Before Jessica could take any action, the Purple Man ordered the policeman to jump off the building. Jessica quickly jumped down and caught the policeman, and thus she came face to face with the Purple Man. When Jessica saw this face from her nightmare, she immediately remembered that memory she didn't want to recall. It turned out that she had personally killed Luke's wife under the control of the Purple Man. That bus accident was just a cover. At this time, the policeman woke up and was going to jump off the building again. Jessica quickly grabbed him and smashed him against the wall to knock him out. When she turned around, the Purple Man had already disappeared. Jessica was about to chase after him. Unexpectedly, a hand suddenly pulled her down. It was another unlucky person who was controlled. Jessica had to grab his neck and strangle him unconscious. But as soon as one was taken down, another one came. Jessica had to tie the door. She searched around the house and accidentally found a room filled with her own photos. It turned out that the Purple Man had been secretly monitoring her. Jessica hugged the policeman and jumped downstairs, in case he would try to commit suicide again after waking up. Before dealing with the Purple Man, she made up her mind to stay away from Luke. The most urgent thing now was to find out who was helping the Purple Man to take candid photos of her. In order to catch the Purple Man's informant, Jessica has been wandering around the streets recently. Unexpectedly, a new client suddenly came to the detective agency. She found the agency through the connections of the female lawyer. The woman's name is Audrey. It can be seen from her designer clothes that she comes from a wealthy family. Her husband, Carlo, has been having affairs for years. Recently, it has finally reached the point of getting a divorce. Audrey is determined to make Carlo leave the marriage with nothing, so she needs evidence of his infidelity. It would be best to catch him in the act. Just as Jessica was about to sign the contract, unexpectedly, Trish called again and said, "That policeman is here to kill me. He knows that I'm okay." Jessica immediately rushed to see Trish. The policeman was banging on the door, with a look of despair on his face. When she saw this expression, she understood. The young policeman wasn't here to kill Trish. he just remembered that he had killed someone, and wanted to come in to confirm the body. Jessica opened the door, and wanted to send the policeman away together with Trish, but the policeman needed an explanation, so Jessica had to talk to him, to prevent the policeman from ruining his original life. Because of this incident, Jessica confessed the matter of the purple man to him, and told the policeman to forget about it and live a good life. But this policeman named Simpson has been a special forces soldier for 8 years. He has hated evil all his life, and thinks that he has the obligation to protect Trish. Jessica said, "I have a way to make the purple man let Trish go. All she needs to do is to publicly apologize on the show, because the purple man likes to force others to submit to him the most." Jessica threw herself back into Audrey's case, in order to confirm that this client wasn't inserted by the purple man causing trouble. She specifically went to the female lawyer and asked about it, although the other party said that Audrey was just an ordinary client. For the sake of safety, Jessica decided to follow her for a few days. The purple man's ability is restricted by time and distance. If there is no further contact in the middle, he can only control one person for a maximum of 12 hours. If there is nothing wrong with Audrey, Jessica will honestly complete this business, taking a few nude photos of the cheating man to complete the task. Thinking of this, she suddenly realized, why not ask Officer Simpson for help? The police's surveillance cameras are all over the city. They must be able to find out who is taking candid photos. Jessica sent the apartment address to Simpson, and asked him to help check the surveillance. Then she followed Audrey to a certain abandoned building. The other party didn't meet with the purple man. Instead, she was practicing shooting, while playing rock music at a very high volume. Sometimes it's really hard to understand what these rich people are thinking. The female lawyer called Jessica to the law firm on the phone. It was bustling and crowded with people. They were all people who claimed that they had been mentally controlled after hearing Trish's show. The female lawyer didn't have time to deal with them. She called Jessica over because her wife Wendy refused to break up peacefully. The female lawyer needed to find something against her. Jessica still owed the lawyer a favor, so she could only agree to help her investigate. Then she started to talk to the people in the law firm one by one, to judge whether they had really met the purple man. But either they wanted to use mental control to exonerate themselves, or they were crazy people with nothing better to do. Of course, there were also those who had really met the purple man, but they had just been robbed of a jacket.
Now, I know it's not the same as killing my parents, but
Jessica screened out those who weren't lying, and asked them to explain all the details of their contact with the purple man. When Jessica got home, she just happened to catch the policeman coming to deliver the surveillance backup. He copied a full 30 hours worth of surveillance. Jessica watched it all night and just felt a splitting headache. She was going to wander around the street. At this time, a little girl of about 8 years old ran over to convey a message from the purple man. She said, "I accept Trish's apology. At least I won't cause trouble for her in a short time." Then the little girl mentioned Audrey again. Jessica was very excited when she heard this. She grabbed the little girl and asked if Audrey was sent by the purple man. The little girl couldn't help screaming. Her mother followed the sound and came to take her daughter away. Jessica turned to follow Carlo, because Audrey had said that he would meet his lover on Friday. Carlo sneaked into the building furtively with a bouquet of flowers. Jessica jumped onto the balcony and climbed in through the window. She saw Carlo having an affair through the glass. Unexpectedly, Audrey suddenly called and asked her where she was and if she was following Carlo. Jessica sensed that something was wrong and kicked open the door. It turned out that Audrey was under the quilt. She had deliberately lured Jessica here. Audrey shot Jessica in the shoulder and said, "I want to avenge my mother." It turned out that Audrey's mother had died in an accident. When superheroes were saving the city, the collapsing building had crushed her mother to death, which made Audrey hate superpowered people deeply. She met someone at a casual party and learned about Jessica from the club owner, so she wanted to set a trap to kill this superpowered person. Jessica was speechless when she heard this. Superheroes indirectly caused your mother's death. What does it have to do with me? Jessica was completely angry. My parents died in a car accident. I didn't go after those stupid drivers either. She smashed the things in the room frantically, and warned Audrey not to show up again. Then the female lawyer called and said that she had found a few more victims who had come into contact with the purple man, asking Jessica to go and take a look first. Among them, Charlie caught her attention, because this person had been controlled by the purple man, and worked as his driver for a week. Charlie had the longest contact with the purple man. He was responsible for sending the purple man to the designated place at 10 a.m. every day, to meet a person wearing a blue and white striped scarf. Jessica quickly went back to check the surveillance, to find the person wearing the blue and white striped scarf. She stayed up all night and finally saw the target. The person wearing the scarf was Zach. Jessica sneaked into his house. Sure enough, she found her own photos under the bed. Zach is actually quite pitiful. He was quite normal before being controlled by the Purple Man. It's a pity that he has now completely become a drug addict. At 9:45 every morning, he would stumble out onto the street. At that time, Jessica was still curious about how a drug addict could have such a regular schedule. It turned out that he was going to hand in the candid photos. This morning, she followed Zach onto the street. Sure enough, she saw him hand the photos to the Purple Man. The Purple Man is very cautious. He will control passersby at the appointed time to tell Zach the specific meeting place. So Jessica can't know the meeting place in advance. She had to discuss it with Trish to see if it was possible to shoot the anesthetic through a long-range dart gun. As soon as she finished speaking, Simpson appeared in his underwear. In the past few days, due to his guilt, he had been constantly coming to Trish to apologize, so over time, they developed feelings for each other. Simpson naturally picked up the conversation. He said, "Long-range shooting isn't suitable for moving targets. Why don't you just shoot him in the head and kill him directly?" Jessica said, "I need him alive to use the Purple Man to prove that Hope is innocent." She asked Trish to find a way to rent a van and be her driver, because Jessica has never taken the driver's license test since her parents had a car accident. But Trish had to do a live broadcast in an hour. She asked Simpson to help. Through their conversation, it was known that the accurate shooting range of the dart gun was within 6 meters. If Jessica got too close, she would definitely be discovered by the Purple Man. So, having Simpson, who has rich practical experience, approach him is the best way. The Purple Man won't remember every hypnotized person. Simpson took Jessica to a building, which once served as a disease control center. There is a sealed cabin. At that time, the anesthetized Purple Man can be locked in it. The prerequisite is that Simpson needs to get a pass. The earliest he can get it is the day after tomorrow. After the two of them discussed it, they plan to take action the day after. Tomorrow, Simpson is really efficient in handling things. He quickly found a van with a fake license plate. There is no rental record, and it is the most suitable van for abduction, because Jessica and Simpson are in charge of the capture. Trish still has to be the driver. As soon as Sunday arrived, the three immediately gathered to make preparations. Before the operation, Jessica told Simpson, "If I am discovered by the Purple Man during the process, immediately shoot me with an anesthetic. Only by fainting can I avoid being controlled by him." At 10 o'clock, the controlled passerby approached Zach and told him the meeting place this time. After Jessica confirmed the Purple Man's position, she immediately notified her two accomplices. Trish parked the car half a block away. When Simpson was about to approach the Purple Man, the balloon of the roadside vendor suddenly burst. The cautious Jessica told Simpson to retreat immediately, but she didn't want to miss the opportunity, so she had to rush out and shout to attract attention, and Simpson took the opportunity to shoot the anesthetic at the Purple Man's neck. The next second, he fell to the ground and caused a commotion around. Jessica saw a black man trying to rush over, and immediately shouted, "He knocked down my brother." Then she helped the Purple Man up, and prepared to send him to the hospital. Jessica carried the Purple Man and joined Trish. As soon as they arrived at the disease control center, they found that the Purple Man was wearing a tracker, and there was a group of controlled bodyguards who rushed over like crazy to hijack the car. They've got too many men with stun sticks. Although Jessica wouldn't be easily stunned by the electric shock, she was afraid of killing innocent people. In the end, she could only watch helplessly as the Purple Man was hijacked away. Trish was also very annoyed that she couldn't help. Simpson originally wanted to interrogate the captured bodyguard, to ask them where they were taking the Purple Man, but this bodyguard had only received the protection order. He didn't know anything else. At this time, Jessica couldn't help but remember her first encounter with the Purple Man. At that time, Jessica was determined to become a superhero, using her superpowers to help others. One day, she dealt with a few bullies. Jessica's extraordinary skills immediately caught the Purple Man's attention.
Tell me, did you enjoy beating those thugs?
Yes,
Why?
because I helped someone. I made a difference.
The Purple Man took Jessica away just like that, and that night, the person she saved from the gangsters was Zach. Jessica has always taken good care of this neighbor. Even though she knew that he was taking candid photos of herself, Jessica still wanted to help Zach quit drugs. She locked him in her own toilet.
He did this to you to get at me, to isolate me, to make me feel like an infection, one more person dead or dying because of me.
The Purple Man is keen on destroying the hopeful Jessica from the past, so now she will help Zach again and again. It is also a way to redeem herself. On the other side, as soon as the Purple Man woke up from the coma, he called Jessica. He knew that the other party wanted to save that drug addict, so he proposed that Jessica replace Zach, send a selfie on time every day. Jessica hung up the phone in disgust. She walked to the bathroom, and found that Zach really didn't let her down. he didn't touch the drugs placed on the ground. Jessica's mood improved instantly, so she sent a selfie to the Purple Man to satisfy this pervert's request. At the same time, Hope was being beaten up by her cellmates in prison. Just when Zach's situation was gradually stabilizing, Luke suddenly came to the door. However, he came as a customer of the detective agency and asked Jessica to help him find a person named Antoine. He owed a huge amount of usury and suddenly disappeared a week ago. Luke has a good relationship with Antoine's sister, so he cares about this matter. Jessica couldn't refuse Luke and could only agree. At this time, the female lawyer called and said that Hope had been beaten up in prison. She bribed the prison guard to find out the details. Learning that the person who beat Hope was named Cece, the female lawyer also checked the visitor records. No one had come to visit Cece, so she wasn't controlled by the Purple Man. The female lawyer originally wanted to help Hope request temporary isolation, but the other party refused, and also didn't confess the reason for being beaten. The female lawyer didn't want to deal with this matter anymore. Jessica asked to visit Cece. As soon as they met, she pressed her against the vending machine and asked the other party why she had beaten Hope.
She paid me for it. $50 and a pack of smokes.
Hope, facing Jessica's direct questioning, could only confess that she was pregnant with the Purple Man's child. That's why she came up with this method to induce a miscarriage. Jessica understood that she didn't want to keep the child, so she agreed to give Hope the abortion pills. After leaving the prison, she went to find Antoine, as Luke suggested. During this time, she also had to send selfies to that pervert, the Purple Man. The toothpaste and deodorant from Antoine's home had been taken away, indicating that he left on his own and wasn't kidnapped. Because kidnappers wouldn't care about the personal hygiene of their hostages, Jessica rummaged through Antoine's trash can and found a betting application form inside. An idea struck her, and she called Antoine.
Hi, this message is for Antoine Greer. Congratulations, you're a winner. Give us a call back within 24 hours at this number, or your Xbox One prize will be forfeited.
Luke kindly drove Jessica home. Unexpectedly, they ran into Zach downstairs. Zach knew that this young couple was having a quarrel, so he privately informed Luke about the Purple Man's actions. Upon learning this, Luke immediately sought to make amends with Jessica. The two went back to living a happy life together. Antoine quickly took the bait. He sent his address to the lottery platform to claim his prize. However, the person on the phone had a strong Puerto Rican accent, indicating that the call didn't come from Antoine himself. This matter became increasingly complicated. Jessica simply couldn't understand why Luke wanted to help find someone. He could only confess that Antoine held evidence regarding the cause of his wife Riva's death. Riva had left Luke a clue, leading him to seek a mysterious box, but Luke couldn't find it anywhere. Jessica suddenly remembered that while under the Purple Man's control, she had dug up a box with Riva as instructed. However, after the box was dug up, the Purple Man commanded her to kill Riva. At this moment, the two followed the address from the phone and discovered a suspicious figure. Luke and Jessica followed the person on their motorcycle to an abandoned factory. Suddenly, two vicious dogs burst out from inside. Luke distracted the dogs, giving Jessica the opportunity to grab the suspicious man and successfully find Antoine. It turned out that he had sneaked here to grow marijuana. Luke entangled with several drug dealers and told Jessica to take Antoine out of the factory first. Antoine's sister, seeing her brother safely return, honored her promise and handed over the evidence. Regarding the cause of death, Jessica feared that the truth about her being the murderer would be revealed, and nervously watched Luke open the document. To her surprise, it stated that Riva died in an accident caused by a drunk bus driver. Luke believed this evidence and insisted on finding the bus driver for revenge. Jessica had no choice but to confess to Luke. Riva's death was caused by her actions under the Purple Man's control. Luke couldn't tolerate the fact that Jessica had been deceiving him all along, and in a fit of anger, he left. The Purple Man bought Jessica's childhood home, leaving her unsure of his intentions. The argument with Luke left Jessica feeling defeated. One day, after getting drunk, she went to find the lawyer's wife, Wendy, and forced Wendy to sign the divorce agreement. Unexpectedly, the woman refused. As the subway was approaching, Jessica threw Wendy onto the tracks. Fortunately, at the last moment, she came to her senses and saved her. Jessica, feeling dejected and guilty, was completely drunk. Zach helped her home, only to be surprised to find their neighbor Ruben dead on Jessica's bed. This must have been the work of the Purple Man. A few hours earlier, Ruben had come looking for Jessica, only to see the Purple Man standing in the dark room. He angrily questioned, "Why are you trespassing in someone else's home?" The Purple Man didn't answer but instead retorted, "Who are you?"
My name is Ruben. I'm her neighbor. I made her banana bread.
Why?
Because I love her.
Zach instinctively thought about calling the police, but Jessica had been involved in too many cases and couldn't let the police know about this. She needed to resolve everything herself. Jessica planned to commit a crime on purpose to enter a super prison. She aimed to use herself as bait, to lure the Purple Man into the prison to find her. In a prison with 7 layers of security, the Purple Man would have no way to send someone in, and would have to show up himself. At that point, the process of him using his superpowers would be recorded by the security cameras, and it would be impossible to delete. In this way, Jessica could obtain the evidence. Previously, an agent suspected Jessica of being involved in the murder case with Hope. Now she proactively contacted the agent to confess. However, Jessica needed a lawyer present. She stopped the working lawyer, and requested her to free up time at 8 p.m., then promised that Wendy would soon sign the contract. The lawyer reluctantly agreed in order to expedite the divorce. However, in the afternoon, Wendy suddenly showed up at the law firm with a document in hand, claiming it was evidence of the lawyer's illegal bribery over the years. Wendy didn't want to make things so messy, but the lawyer had actually sent Jessica to threaten her, so she had no choice but to do this. On the other side, ever since the last plan with the anesthetic failed, Trish had been feeling utterly incompetent. She wasn't able to help at the critical moments. Trish hated this feeling, so she investigated the Purple Man's bodyguard team, hoping to track them down to find the Purple Man's location. Simpson was worried that Trish would be in danger, and he couldn't persuade her to back off from the matter. He could only secretly help her follow the bodyguards. To their surprise, he discovered that the Purple Man was hiding in Jessica's childhood home. However, Simpson didn't tell Trish about this. Trish received a call from Zach and hurried to Jessica's apartment. She saw Ruben dead on the bed. Zach was worried that Jessica might do something foolish, so he could only ask Trish to help talk to her. When Jessica returned to the apartment, she found Trish waiting in the living room for a long time. Meanwhile, the body on the bed had disappeared. Jessica knew that Trish was very worried about her, but right now, aside from getting into prison to lure the Purple Man, she really couldn't think of any other way. Trish had to honestly confess that she had Zach dispose of Ruben's body in the sea. Jessica chased after her to the dock and jumped into the water to retrieve the body. Then she brought Ruben's severed head into the police station, falsely claiming that she killed someone and wanted to confess. Time was of the essence, and Jessica must get to the super prison as soon as possible. However, the detective kept asking about what happened. She could only break free from the handcuffs, grabbed a chair on the ground, and prepared to smash it into him. She wanted to escalate the nature of her crime a bit more. Unfortunately, Jessica was still a step too late. The Purple Man had already stormed into the police station and taken control of all the officers. He expressed his affection for Jessica and wiped the surveillance footage in the police station. Then he lifted the severed head and ordered the officers, "In 3 seconds, you will find this is just a ridiculous joke." He then let Jessica leave. After returning to her apartment, Jessica discovered the gift left by the Purple Man, which was the ownership of her childhood home. The next morning, she packed her bags to go take a look. However, she ran into Ruben's sister, who came looking for him. Jessica couldn't bear to tell her the truth, so she pretended that Ruben left without saying goodbye.
This is all your fault. We were fine before you came here.
Jessica continuously brought disaster to those around her, leading her to develop serious self-loathing. She recklessly headed to her childhood home to find the Purple Man. Unexpectedly, Simpson, who was hiding outside the villa, happened to see the scene. Jessica had just entered the familiar house when she was searched by the Purple Man's bodyguards and found with her phone recording.
I am Jessica Jones. This is a one-party consent to record conversations with Kilgrave in order to get his confession to the murders of Hope Schlottman's parents.
Although the Purple Man was somewhat disappointed, he promised that he wouldn't force Jessica this time. He hoped that she would voluntarily choose to stay. Jessica looked around and found that the house had been completely restored to its childhood layout. The Purple Man said he specifically tracked down the real estate agent from back then and restored it according to the photos. He even hired a chef and a butler because he knew Jessica didn't like slaves. He doubled their wages to employ the unemployed who had been fired, ensuring that Jessica could comfortably accept the servants. The two inexplicably began a cohabitation. Jessica didn't give the Purple Man a good face, and his patience had its limits. Although he promised not to use his abilities against Jessica, he never said he wouldn't threaten with the lives of bystanders. This led to an extremely unpleasant first dinner. Just as Jessica was about to head upstairs, she found Simpson suddenly appearing. He mistakenly thought Jessica had been controlled, so he planted a bomb in the basement, intending to blow up the Purple Man. Jessica warned Simpson not to act rashly. The Purple Man couldn't be allowed to die just yet. Before proving Hope's innocence, she stealthily took the phone from Simpson. Just as she finished speaking, the Purple Man came to the door. Jessica opened the door and said there was a bomb in the basement, intentionally distracting the Purple Man to give Simpson a chance to escape. The bomb was tied above the gas main, and once activated, the whole house would blow up. The clever Purple Man quickly guessed that It was Trish's police boyfriend who was behind it. However, she didn't expect Jessica would save her. Feeling a little pleased about it, however, after getting the phone, Jessica had only one goal: to record the Purple Man admitting that he killed Hope's parents. However, the Purple Man was cautious in his actions. He didn't want to talk about Hope at all. He explained to Jessica that his evil nature wasn't innate, but was caused by his parents. The Purple Man pulled out a yellow flash drive. This was what Reva had hidden in the box. The video inside recorded his parents forcing their young son to undergo human trials. They only treated him as a lab rat for their research. Endless tortures like brain biopsies, cerebrospinal fluid extraction and electric shocks accidentally triggered the Purple Man's control abilities and turned him into a violent madman. Jessica was indeed moved when she saw this. Perhaps no one had ever taught the Purple Man how to be a good person. At this moment, she saw a report on the television about a man holding his wife and child hostage. She called the Purple Man to go to the scene of the incident. The cautious Purple Man instructed the butler and the chef, "If I don't safely return here in 2 hours, you must skin each other's faces." In this way, Jessica wouldn't be able to take action against him. The two used their powers to enter the villa easily, surrounded by the police, and successfully rescued the mother and child who were being held hostage. The poor woman repeatedly thanked them. The Purple Man initially wanted to order the perpetrator to commit suicide, but Jessica stopped his command, saying that whether this person lived or died should be left to the law to decide. The Purple Man had to instruct the perpetrator to surrender.
A waste of energy.
Was it? You just saved 4 lives.
Although the Purple Man didn't say it, he felt very happy inside. It was the first time he had seen someone look at him with reverence and gratitude. He even suggested teaming up with Jessica to do more good deeds like this, as a way to counterbalance the good and evil, to achieve equilibrium. Jessica was very angry upon hearing this. Human life is not a bargaining chip. Saving someone doesn't mean you can offset the lives you've taken away. Jessica realized that the Purple Man had no concept of good and evil at all. If she wanted to restrain him from making mistakes, she would have to stay by the Purple Man's side at all times. Jessica needed some space to think, so she made an excuse to go out for a walk to find Trish. Of course, the Purple Man warned her, if she exceeded the time limit, the butler and the chef would suffer. Jessica visited Trish to ask whether she should be with the Purple Man in order to stop him from committing crimes. Trish advised Jessica not to take all the responsibility for the Purple Man's actions upon herself. You don't need to sacrifice everything for him. The curfew time was approaching. The Purple Man was anxiously waiting at home. Unexpectedly, the female lawyer sent a message to Jessica's phone, saying that Wendy wanted to take away 75% of her assets. The lawyer needed to quickly obtain leverage against her. The Purple Man mimicked Jessica's tone in agreement. Just then, they heard a car pull up at the door. Jessica returned with takeout. She intentionally agreed to his previous suggestion, "We can collaborate and balance each other." Once she distracted the Purple Man, Jessica injected him with anesthetic and took him away. However, they were stopped by the bodyguards on the way. Fortunately, Simpson showed up just in time. Jessica couldn't let him kill the Purple Man, so she could only carry him away. The bodyguards were taken aback. At this moment, a neighbor lady came over and handed Simpson a paper bag, saying it was a gift that the Purple Man wanted her to convey. In the next second, the bomb inside exploded, blowing Simpson to serious injuries. Jessica locked the Purple Man in a sealed chamber, which contained equipment left behind by the former special forces for interrogating criminals. Jessica planned to torment the Purple Man continuously, forcing him to demonstrate his superpowers in front of the camera. The Purple Man then realized he had fallen into a gentle trap. During this time, Jessica kept playing the videos from the flash drive, tormenting the Purple Man's fragile nerves, and she discovered that there were many more children tortured by the experiments than just the Purple Man. At this moment, the female lawyer returned after receiving a message, reminding Jessica that the coerced testimony would be invalid, and they were about to lose the case. The district attorney stated that if Hope pleaded guilty, she could receive around 20 years in prison, otherwise, she would face life imprisonment. The district attorney only gave them 48 hours to consider. Even if Jessica submitted the video of the Purple Man using mind control, it would be dismissed by the prosecution as fabricated, unless Jessica could find a legally authoritative witness to validate the video. This witness needed to be a police officer or a judge. Jessica had the female lawyer watch the Purple Man while she went to seek help from the detective. However, the detective required Jessica to present evidence of the Purple Man's powers first. The Purple Man realized that the female lawyer was deeply entangled in a divorce lawsuit, planning to lure her into letting him out. Fortunately, the female lawyer wasn't easily deceived. At this time, Trish wanted to take Simpson to the hospital. However, he insisted on having Dr. Kozlov treat him. Kozlov was someone Simpson had known during his military service. Trish helped contact this mysterious doctor. As soon as Kozlov appeared, Simpson expressed his desire to join a certain program. This was likely referring to the Captain America program. Simpson had lost several of his men in that explosion, and now he was filled with rage, wanting nothing more than to kill the Purple Man for revenge. After the bystanders left, Kozlov gave Simpson a few pills. Surprisingly, after taking them, his injuries miraculously improved. Meanwhile, Jessica quickly returned to the sealed chamber, preparing to enter the chamber herself. To force the Purple Man to use his abilities, she tried various methods to provoke him, but the Purple Man refused to fight back. The female lawyer was afraid Jessica might kill him, and was about to press the stun button to stop them. At this moment, Trish appeared just in time to stop the lawyer. She knew Jessica was aware of what she was doing. The female lawyer, unable to watch any longer, left first. Just as Jessica was about to beat the Purple Man to death, Trish had no choice but to stun them both. Because the Purple Man absolutely refused to reveal his powers, Trish and Jessica came up with another plan. If someone could push the Purple Man to the brink of collapse, it would definitely be his parents. However, the videos on the flash drive didn't capture the appearances of the Purple Man's parents. The two could only repeatedly watch the videos, looking for overlooked details. Jessica finally found out that the Purple Man's parents were named Lewis and Albert. They taught at the University of Manchester in 1985. When Jessica found a photo of Lewis, she discovered that she was actually a member of the support group. That night, Jessica infiltrated the support group, and indeed found Lewis showing up. Jessica tracked down the couple, pressing them on why they conducted such inhumane experiments. To her surprise, she learned the Purple Man had suffered from a degenerative neurological disease since childhood. If he didn't undergo the experiments, he would suffer brain death before the age of 12. The elderly couple found research on a virus that could repair DNA, successfully managing to suppress the Purple Man's condition. But this also came with horrible side effects. However, they didn't abandon their child as the Purple Man claimed, and run away after the experiments failed. Instead, they stayed by their son's side, and actively coped with the situation. But the Purple Man became increasingly irritable, even using his abilities to make Lewis burn herself. The couple chose to run away, because they no longer wanted to live in fear. After Lewis saw the news about Hope plotting against her parents, she guessed it was her own son behind it. That's why she joined the support group, to help the victims who had been controlled by the Purple Man. Jessica convinced her to face her son, and contacted an old detective to attend as a witness. Jessica let the elderly couple enter the sealed chamber. The Purple Man was very emotional when he saw his parents. He was only 10 years old when he was abandoned. The hurtful actions towards his mother were due to his inability to control his powers. Lewis apologized to her son, embracing him with a warm hug. Unfortunately, the warm atmosphere didn't last long. Lewis took out scissors and stabbed at the Purple Man, intending to kill her son to prevent him from harming others again. In despair, the Purple Man immediately controlled his mother to commit suicide. Jessica had already recorded what she wanted, but the stun equipment suddenly malfunctioned. In the end, Lewis tragically died. Jessica and Trish could only manage to save Albert. The Purple Man took advantage of the open door to escape. As Jessica chased after him, she discovered that she had become immune to the Purple Man's control abilities. The Purple Man quickly reacted, and ordered the detective to hold Jessica back. The heroine stood in the street, reminiscing about the feeling of having everything under her control, finally breaking into a smile. After escaping, the Purple Man met up with the female lawyer, asking her to take him to see the best surgeon. It turned out the two had already made an agreement. However, the female lawyer took the Purple Man to Wendy's house. Although they were having a messy divorce, Wendy was the female lawyer's most trusted doctor. Once she helped the Purple Man treat his wounds, she could also pressure Wendy into signing the divorce agreement. On the other side, Jessica told Trish that she seemed to have broken free from the Purple Man's control abilities. The old detective could also testify to this. Albert immediately suggested that Jessica's blood might be used to create a vaccine against the Purple Man's powers. In fact, this control ability wasn't as mystical as controlling the mind. It was that the Purple Man could release a virus, similar to ultrafine particles scattered in the air, that could affect the human brain. Jessica's blood might be the breakthrough point. Trish assisted Albert in testing Jessica's blood. In addition, they discovered that someone had cut the wires of the stun equipment. That's why it malfunctioned at that time. Jessica immediately guessed that it was the female lawyer's doing. She must have been influenced by the Purple Man, due to the divorce lawsuit. At this time, Wendy was treating the Purple Man's wounds. Both of them were like wronged women hurt by a jerk. The Purple Man complained about how Jessica had deceived his feelings, and could empathize with Wendy's experience of betrayal. He couldn't understand why he had treated Jessica so well, yet things had turned out like this.
She wants you to pay for what you did to Hope Schlottman.
Tell me something I don't know.
Hope Schlottman was pregnant with your child. Jessica and I helped her to abort it. I kept the remains to see if your power could be replicated.
The lawyer's actions completely infuriated the Purple Man. He ordered Wendy to kill the lawyer with a knife. Fortunately, the law firm's assistant, Pam, arrived just in time, but while saving the lawyer, she accidentally killed Wendy. Jessica arrived just a moment too late and found a scene of chaos. Meanwhile, Simpson was mentally stimulated by the pills, and he arrived at the seal chamber, killing the old detective who was protecting the evidence, and also set fire to the corpse, destroying the evidence that had been so hard to obtain. Jessica was still unaware of this. She learned from the female lawyer that the Purple Man was looking for her father, so she planned to use Albert as bait to draw out the Purple Man. But the serum test would take at least 24 hours to yield results. Jessica could only anxiously return home and wait. Little did she know, the Purple Man was lying in wait inside the house. He stated, "I know you can resist my control abilities," and had therefore misled the district attorney in advance. The documents for Hope's acquittal were signed. The Purple Man wanted to exchange Hope for Albert. Upon hearing this, Jessica punched the Purple Man down. She then contacted Hope to assure her, "In a few hours, you'll be free," she promised. Just after hanging up, Ruben's sister barged in with people looking for her brother. She knocked out the unsuspecting Jessica, accidentally freeing the bound Purple Man. Simpson found Trish and discovered she was working with Albert on a vaccine. Trish quickly noticed that Simpson was acting strangely and kicked him out of the motel. She also stole some pills from Simpson. Trish suspected that there was something wrong with the pills. The next morning, the unconscious Jessica was awakened by a phone call. Hope, freshly released from prison, questioned her about why she was late. Jessica became very nervous upon hearing this. She hurriedly instructed Hope to find a place to hide. Unfortunately, by the time she rushed to the prison, Hope and Ruben's sister had already been captured by the Purple Man. At the same time, the vaccine had been produced, but its effectiveness had not been tested yet. Additionally, Albert identified the pills on Simpson as a combat enhancer, which could also numb the pain centers. However, this drug was not perfect, which is why Simpson's consciousness was compromised. As soon as she finished speaking, Jessica entered to tell Albert that Hope had been captured. "The Purple Man wanted to exchange her for you." Albert sprayed the vaccine on himself, mustering the courage to go with Jessica to meet the Purple Man. Unexpectedly, Zach, Ruben's sister, and others were also there, and they were all hung from the beams by the Purple Man. Hope realized that as long as she was still alive, Jessica would not kill the Purple Man. She had no choice but to commit suicide, forcing Jessica to face reality. Taking advantage of the chaos, the Purple Man escaped with Albert.
Why would you do this?
You can kill him now. Tell me.
I'll kill him.
Jessica recalled the car accident from her childhood. She was the only survivor in her family. Although Trisha's mother adopted her, this woman had a tendency to be abusive. Adopting Jessica was merely to enhance her daughter Trisha's television show's reputation. The cries of Ruben's sister jolted her from her memories. Hope had died tragically. A group of people almost committed suicide under the Purple Man's control. To avoid raising police suspicion, Jessica told them to keep their mouths shut. The group worked together to cover up the truth about Hope's death. Jessica wanted to search for Albert's body, to find clues about the Purple Man. She followed Trish to the Riverbank Medical Center to check the information of various unidentified corpses in the morgue. Perhaps Albert was among them, but neither of them was on the family list. The staff wouldn't casually let anyone into the morgue. At this point, Trish's reputation came into play.
Are you a gourmand, Maury? Trish can get you a table at any restaurant in the city.
The staff, seeking benefits, quickly opened the back door for the two of them. However, there was no Albert in the morgue. Due to lack of sleep, Trish urged Jessica to go back and rest, but she stubbornly continued to check databases of various hospitals for morgues. Jessica didn't stop until the following morning. She was mentally drained and began to hallucinate. As a result, she was hit by a passing vehicle. Jessica didn't bother going to the hospital to treat her injuries, and simply bandaged herself at Trisha's house. Though the two weren't related by blood, their bond was closer than that of sisters. Growing up, Trish was always exploited and abused by her mother. Jessica unintentionally awakened her abilities, because she wanted to protect Trish. At this moment, she had just lain down when she received a text message. It said that an elderly male body had arrived at the morgue. Jessica quietly went to check it out. Keeping it from Trish, she discovered that the deceased was none other than old Detective K. He had been burned beyond recognition. Jessica speculated that the Purple Man had returned to the seal chamber to set fire to destroy the evidence there. She didn't suspect Simpson at all. Jessica told Trish to come over to her house, but as soon as Trish stepped outside, she found Simpson blocking the doorway.
I just want to know where Jessica is.
Why?
My boys are dead because of her. I'm gonna kill him, but she just keeps getting in the way.
Because Simpson had overdosed on the enhancer, he was in a frenzied state. Dr. Kozlov wanted to send someone to fetch him back. However, Simpson shot and killed the two of them. Then he locked Trish in the gym. Using Trish's phone, he contacted Jessica. Simpson soon arrived at her door, claiming he wanted to know the Purple Man's whereabouts. He wanted to avenge his deceased brother. During their conversation, Jessica noticed that Simpson showed no surprise about the death of the old detective. Jessica deliberately probed, saying, "I hacked into the police department's records to check the ballistics results. It stated that the old detective died from police-issued bullets."
Bullshit. There's no way ballistics came back that fast.
Yeah, you're right, I took a flyer. You knew where to find Trish at Albert's hotel. Only Clemens and I knew she was there. Which means you went to the CDC first.
The two of them immediately started to fight. Jessica hadn't yet recovered from her injuries from the car accident. On top of that, Simpson had taken drugs. She quickly found herself at a disadvantage. Fortunately, Trish arrived just in time, and took the pill she had previously stolen. Together, they managed to subdue Simpson. However, Trish suffered from the side effects of the pills, and became unable to breathe. Jessica hurriedly took her to the hospital. However, when Trish recovered, Kozlov took the unconscious Simpson from Jessica's room. The Purple Man warned Jessica that he had found Luke. Besides Trish, Luke was the person Jessica cared about the most. She immediately headed to Luke's bar. The bar was destroyed by a massive explosion. Fortunately, Luke was unscathed and survived the explosion. 2 days ago, Luke followed Jessica, intending to find the Purple Man and take revenge on him. Unexpectedly, he was instead controlled by the Purple Man. Fortunately, the Purple Man was unaware that Luke was bulletproof. Otherwise, the situation would have been much worse than just blowing up the bar. Luke and Jessica finally sat down calmly. They cleared up the misunderstandings between them, and decided to confront the Purple Man together. On the other hand, Albert hadn't died. Instead, he was under the Purple Man's control, helping him develop drugs to enhance his own control abilities. The Purple Man also wanted to conduct experimental tests on the crowd. Meanwhile, Trish learned that Kozlov was a researcher for a company called Trish called Jessica to inform her of this. However, she was focused on dealing with the Purple Man. She couldn't spare the time to investigate the origins of the pills. Trish's mother overheard this information at the hospital door. For years, Trish had avoided her mother. Trish's mom wanted to find a chance to mend their mother-daughter relationship, so she brought a document about that IGH company to talk to Trish. It turned out that IGH had provided Jessica with free medical expenses.
Did they know about her abilities? Did you tell them?
God, no. Jesse threatened to, quote, tie my earlobes to my brain if I ever said anything to anyone.
After the car accident years ago, Jessica's emergence of superpowers might be related to this company. During this time, Luke and Jessica arrived at the apartment Albert had previously rented. Inside, there were many experimental instruments and various drugs. Among them, the most eye-catching was a type of adenovirus synthesis used for treatment. It is generally used to treat hereditary brain function disorders. It is very expensive and hard to find. Jessica tracked this information and discovered that the Purple Man was hoarding a lot of drugs related to adenoviruses. They just needed to wait patiently for the Purple Man to come by to replenish his supplies. Sure enough, the Purple Man soon sent people to pick up the goods. Luke and Jessica followed them to the park, but they lost track of them due to a moment of inattention. When she saw the delivery person again, she found that he had committed suicide. The drugs in the bag had also been taken by someone. The lead on the adenoviruses suddenly fell silent. Jessica had to shift her approach to the investigation. If the Purple Man was developing ways to enhance abilities, he would definitely seek people to test the range of effects, so she searched online for magic and strange occurrences. Sure enough, she found similar reports. Jessica and Luke followed this lead to a nightclub. The Purple Man had been using the nightclub's facilities to test his enhanced control abilities. Jessica was about to take action and punch someone, but she realized that Luke had been in a controlled state all along. He forgave Jessica only because he was being manipulated by the Purple Man. Wanting to win her trust, the Purple Man instructed Luke to stay behind, while he escaped amidst the chaos. Jessica didn't want to hurt the one she cared about, so she held back her full combat strength. But under orders, Luke would show no mercy. The fight lasted for a long time. Although the police arrived promptly after hearing the commotion, they were no match for Luke. Jessica, feeling helpless, had to hit Luke with a shotgun. The unconscious Luke was taken to the hospital for treatment. However, his skin was hard to penetrate. Fortunately, the attending nurse was Claire. She had treated another superpowered individual before, so she wasn't very panicked. Jessica initially wanted to take Luke home to prevent the doctors from discovering his abnormalities, but she was stopped by someone at the front desk. They said there was a call for Jessica. That person was surely the Purple Man. Unexpectedly, his control abilities were already so powerful. Jessica instructed Claire to take Luke back to her apartment to look after him. Then she answered the call and began to negotiate with the Purple Man. She suspected that he was hiding somewhere in the hospital, so she hung the phone on the doorknob and quickly ran to the monitoring room to look for him. Unfortunately, the Purple Man had already left first. he even controlled a female security guard to hold her back. Although Jessica quickly shook off the security guard, the evolved Purple Man infiltrated the hospital system and released Jessica's photo. He ordered everyone who saw the message to hunt down Jessica, even the bedridden elderly woman. Launched an attack without being controlled, Jessica had to lock the door and knock out the elderly woman and the doctor. She changed into their clothes to blend in with the crowd. At this moment, chaos erupted in the hospital. Everyone, regardless of age or gender, was searching for Jessica. Unexpectedly, a woman who had undergone plastic surgery recognized her and ripped off Jessica's mask. The people around rushed over in her hurried escape. Jessica was scratched on the thigh by a female doctor. When Jessica finally managed to get home, she saw Luke convulsing uncontrollably. Claire had to drain the fluid from his brain. However, because she couldn't penetrate Luke's skin, she had to insert it through the optic nerve. Fortunately, Claire was highly skilled. She successfully helped Luke get through the critical period. On the other side, the Purple Man was dissatisfied with his father's research results. He needed to make himself strong enough to control Jessica again. To achieve this, the Purple Man risked his life by taking the maximum dose of injection. Meanwhile, Jessica was using Luke's phone to track the Purple Man's location. After all, Luke had been reporting to the Purple Man via his phone while under control, so there would definitely be some clues in it. Jessica located a wealthy household through the call tracking. She asked Trish to drive her there. During the ride, Trish no longer concealed the connection between the IGH company and the car accident. She revealed all the information she had discovered. Jessica had no time to investigate this matter now. She had to deal with the Purple Man first. Trish wanted to go along with her, but Jessica asked her to wait in the car, and to determine whether she was being controlled by the Purple Man, they established a code word between them.
Something you would never say. You say it, you're still you.
Something I never say, like I love you.
Jessica approached the address she had tracked down. She discovered that Albert had been dismembered. The homeowner was also under mental control. Jessica knocked him down with a single punch. Then she called Trish upstairs. On the rooftop, they discovered residual embryo tissue. Jessica called the female lawyer to find out that this tissue came from the child that Hope had lost. The extract could help the Purple Man enhance his abilities. In addition, Jessica found a bill. It showed that the Purple Man was going to the Hudson Ferry Terminal to take a boat. He had left these things as bait to lure Jessica out, but Jessica didn't care whether it was a trap or not. She just wanted to end everything as quickly as possible. She arrived at the dock to find the Purple Man. The latter had controlled a large number of police and was about to teach Jessica a lesson, but he discovered that the one approaching was Trish, who was wearing a headset. This blocked the Purple Man's voice. The real Jessica had already infiltrated the second floor. The Purple Man noticed and ordered the police to deal with Jessica. He slipped out the back door himself. Jessica bent down to avoid the police's gunfire. After ensuring Trish had safely left, she jumped to the opposite side and locked the door to trap the police. She found Trish and prepared for their next move. Unexpectedly, they encountered a large group of puppets by the yacht. The Purple Man even ordered them to kill each other. Trish stepped forward to stop it, but a passerby accidentally knocked off her headset. Jessica was also struggling to help the puppets. The Purple Man was extremely angry. Jessica ignored him. After all, the Purple Man was the true villain. He had no understanding of humanity at all. The Purple Man wanted to test whether he could control Jessica again. He was also afraid that she might be pretending to fool him, so he deliberately humiliated Trish and ordered Jessica not to approach. Unexpectedly, she really stood there motionless. The Purple Man thought his plan had succeeded, and that he had finally regained control over Jessica.
Tell me you love me.
I love you.
Jessica ultimately snapped the Purple Man's neck. She was arrested for murder. Fortunately, the female lawyer had a change of heart and chose to defend Jessica. She helped her safely leave the prison. Unfortunately, when Jessica returned to her apartment, Luke had already disappeared without a trace. As for the people in town, they heard about Jessica's heroic deeds. They all called her seeking help. Jessica had once wanted to be a hero, but the Purple Man had sabotaged that. Unexpectedly, she became a hero again. For killing the Purple Man, this season's story ends here. At the end, Trish wore headphones to block the Purple Man's mental control. Suddenly, a strange question came to mind. If one doesn't understand English, would they also be immune to the Purple Man? Although this ability is virus-controlled, the control commands must certainly be issued verbally. Moreover, in the original comics, the Purple Man also needed to meet both the virus and vocal conditions to control others. Who would have thought that one day, poor English could become a life-saving treasure? Overall, the entire show was quite interesting. Jessica, as a non-traditional protagonist, is full of personal charm. The villain, the Purple Man's abilities, are indeed formidable. It's a pity that he lost because he lacked love. With such powerful abilities, all he wanted was to possess Jessica. Otherwise, he would have killed her long ago.